Like what we're doing here at Echoplex Media? Well, head on over to echoplexmedia.com/support. There are a bunch of great ways to support this project. My favorite always is the merch.
The focus on ridicule.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. If I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. We are waiting a moment for our guest to arrive, but in the meantime, I will introduce myself. I am producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr, and HK and I were talking things about Grindr that I'm not going to say on stream in the back of house chat.
And I am HK Perrin. You can find me on Mastodon at hperrin at port87.social. You can also find me on email at hperrin at port87.com. The TLD is different. Very subtle difference.
Can we find you with a little more gain on your mic?
You want more gain? I thought it was already pretty hot. How's this? Even better?
Yeah. It is. It's better.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're just waiting for our guest to arrive. It'll be Homozygoat, aka Marcus. That'll be fun. We're gonna be keeping up with the fucking Weinsteins again. We're gonna break our rules here and do a little bit of Bret Weinstein comparing himself to God and suggesting that the conflict in the Middle East is all maybe there just to trick Bret or something. I don't know. And then Eric and Sam Harris went on the fucking Trigonometry podcast. So we're going to watch that. So we're going to do a little bit of a twofer this evening. I know we had fired Bret, but, you know, Marcus was like, well, Bret's been kind of wiling out. So I do
when
think
is he
we
not
will,
wiling out?
I mean, more than usual. Definitely more than usual.
Okay.
HK, what was the last thing that you were on that we covered Bret? Because I think I fired Bret when you weren't here.
I'm pretty sure it was this show. Let's see. What was he doing? I mean, I want to say it was a vaccine thing, but like that's what he's been talking about for like 3 years. So.
And it certainly wasn't How the Tech Are You? The last time
yeah, definitely not.
We covered Bret. Certainly not How the Tech Are You. So I guess while we wait here, I'm going to actually introduce the Intellectual Dollar Tree audience to Toast Cat.
Hell yeah!
This is Toast Cat. Toast Cat is awesome.
Toast Cat flies around in a shoe, and loves to be surrounded by toast.
Yep, love Toast Cat, and you can find him at eplex.store. Up here is our guest. Look at that. What's up, Marcus?
Hey, what's up?
Has
What's up?
Marcus seen Toast Cat?
Yes, I showed him
A very
Toast Cat.
brief introduction to Toast Cat.
He was like, "What do you mean people bought that?"
Why wouldn't you buy it? That's a fucking amazing shirt.
I was more just shocked at the speed of creation to purchase.
Yeah, we sold some like immediately.
Yeah, that was the most surprising.
Dave, you missed something on the description there, though. It's a cat in sunglasses in a shoe, surrounded by toast.
Well, I will fix that then. No,
Okay.
You have a login to you have a login thing. You go ahead and fix it.
Toast Cat always wears sunglasses.
It's your web store too now.
Ah.
I was like, here, have a login, and now I can blame all the problems of the web store on HK. So, Marcus, you had suggested that we briefly unfire Bret Weinstein for this episode, which I'm sure everybody's really happy about.
I'm sure everybody's just frothing at the mouth, and they have their popcorn. The family's gathered around the monitor to tune in to see why we're unfiring Bret.
Oh man, that's it. Unfiring Bret is absolutely like the worst idea, but like I don't know what are we gonna do about it. Plus, like having you on is worth unfiring Bret. Yeah, just somebody in the chat noticed that you sounded flangy and weird. I had a problem. I fixed it. You sound great now.
Okay.
What does
cool.
flangy mean?
Like a flanger, HK.
What's a flanger?
Look it up, HK. Oh, you know what I want to do? I want to spend the next 15 minutes talking about a flanger. Can we do that?
Send it.
I mean,
why not?
I'm all for it, but I feel like you're being sarcastic.
You can tell I'm not serious. So we're gonna the Bad Stats, our friend over at the Bad Stats, has collected some of Bret talking about the situation in the Middle East being a bit of a false flag, conspiracy-y, let's say. Marcus, can you give us a little background, not on what's going on in the Middle East? My God, I do not want to get into that on this fucking show, but like what's going on with Bret here before we get started?
Well, Bret's been on an interesting, in a pejorative way, arc with respect to his content creation. And this is going to be a bit of a humble brag for me, but I think one of the first times I was on here, one of the first times we talked about Bret, I made a point saying that the longer he goes at this, the more and more extreme his views are going to become to try and, blend in with the crowd and pander. But the first times we were talking about him, he was first discovering horse paste for COVID purposes. And now here we are, where Bret is now on such a deranged, out of control character arc that everything now has to be about him. So some of the clips that I sent you that we'll probably take a listen to, a handful of them. Bret is deciding to use the backdrop of what's happening in Gaza to either make it about himself, evolution, or both. And it is unbelievable that his aesthetic is, I'm the science understander. I have a PhD. I understand evolution. And now somehow like what's happening in Gaza is some sort of like weird evolutionary false flag or something that is meant to distract him and his anti-vax friends. Like, and it's bizarre because like a subsection of that has actually happened in sort of the non-IDW part of COVID Twitter, like some of the super cautious people who are trying to not get COVID and like trying to wear masks and stuff. A couple of them, once all of the stuff in Gaza started, were complaining that, my timeline's full of Gaza posting. I want to talk about COVID. Stop talking about Gaza. And it's like, well, okay, I think we can do two things at once, number one, but number two, like what's happening in Gaza is not about you. So like, can you stop doing that? But Bret is doing that on a much, much larger stage and in a way that is, I mean, I would call it narcissistic, but that would be an understatement. I don't think there's a word in the dictionary that can describe this.
Yeah, I did not expect. I mean, I expected him to have some kind of stupid take about this, but I did not expect. I don't know. I didn't even look at this because I knew you were coming on. Like it was a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh, I gotta have you on, and you're like, oh yeah, Bret, we could talk about Bret. And then I saw this, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna watch this actually until Marcus is on the show. I want to get this with some fresh fucking ears. And HK is not on Twitter and doesn't listen to the Dark Horse podcast. So HK, you probably haven't heard whatever the fuck this is either.
Not at all.
Yeah, those are two very wise decisions. Not doing either of those things. Smart, intelligent human. Thank you for doing that. You're sparing yourself misery.
All right, well, let's go. Let's see. We got the first link here is actually a thread with 3 clips. Shout out to the Bad Stats, always pulling. I don't know, always watching this shit so that I don't have to, especially the Dark Horse podcast, because I just don't watch it anymore.
Oh, Bret officially blocked them, by the way.
Oh no.
End of an era.
Aw. I mean, they deserve it, but also like, aw.
I know, it's sad. Regardless.
All right, let's drop this first clip here. Bret is off to the races. It says on this first clip.
Whatever it is that arranged this, there is a component on the Israeli side that is mysterious, and there is no effort being put into an explanation that could possibly satisfy anybody with, let's say, your level of understanding of what took place there. These are transparently inadequate explanations being offered, and the only defense of them is that to entertain any alternative possibility will be dismissed as conspiracy theorizing. There are 2 contradictions here, or 2 implausible claims. One, that the failure at the Israeli border was organic. To say that this operation, which was being planned for a year and was massive, went undetected, and now to be claiming that, in fact, they are being that it may look to us like they're blowing up apartment buildings, but that's because there's a weapons factory in the basement. That suggests a high level of knowledge of where these actions are actually conducted, and a high level of knowledge and a long period of planning in which the attack was not anticipated. That is simply incompatible.
Most people look at what the government is doing, what the, in this case, defense forces are doing, and they refuse to take on the point of view that there may be higher powers that are manipulating this. They simply refuse.
What higher powers? The Jews are already involved. What the fuck are they talking about?
I mean, if there's no evidence, then yeah, I would refuse to believe that. Like, but it's not a refusal that I'm unwilling to give up. I will immediately stop refusing to believe that as soon as there's any evidence.
I just don't even have words. Like, I don't know what power is higher than like all of the powers being invoked in this Middle Eastern conflict. Like, is this like the D&D universe where there's like 300 gods that are warring with each other? I don't get it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like even God is supposed to be on their side, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has their own version. So it's like, are we just like casting the wish spell, or are we like having everybody's gods bless us in Mortal Kombat? Like what's going on here? What do you mean there's an even higher power?
I think it's the same people that have prevented Bret and Eric from both getting their Nobel Prizes. That's who's behind all this.
True. It's the Nobel Committee. That's the higher power, not God. No, it's the Nobel Committee.
Not God.
Right, you didn't invent telomeres. No prize for you.
Oh, there's more of this shit. Oh God, there's 2 more of these, and then there's more clips of him talking to Heather about this. This ain't great.
Is the barbarism of Hamas in southern Israel on October 7th actually the result of a story involving liquid natural gas that exists in Iran that might be sold to Europe, and that certain powerful players might be aware of a way that they might get cut in on the massive amount of wealth that will be at least transferred, if not generated, by such an event, right? Again, it looks like barbarism on your screen, but it might be about money and natural gas that isn't even on the map you were looking at. So, what we haven't mentioned is that I'm also watching.
So wait, can we pause this right here? Because he just said that. He didn't give any evidence of that.
No, just supposition.
That is a hell of a claim to make with zero evidence. Like, holy shit.
He's become very adept at doing that over the pandemic. So, you know, he's got many claims like that. So that's his go-to. That's his MO, is to just spew bullshit and see what actually sticks on the wall and then just run with that. But
we have somebody in the chat asking, like, how long until Bret says how great it is and important it is to have this conversation. These are just clips from the Bad Stats, and I feel like the Bad Stats does not clip that part out, and that is actually to the Bad Stats' detriment as a provocateur, if you ask me. Because if every time they did that was included in the clips, it would be fantastic. He goes, "Well, here's the part that you know space. Yeah, here's the part that you know had to happen." Here, we'll let this clip finish here.
Israel had a profound effect on alliances that were forming that were going to have an effect on the American election in 2024. Now, that could be pure happenstance. Or not.
Is it coincidence or not?
Or not?
Nobody knows. We're going to pose random hypotheticals and never address them once we mention them ever again.
I mean, to be fair, those are the two options if you limit it to two.
The tides could be caused by the sun and the moon, or not.
This is fucking wild. I'm so glad that I don't like watch this stuff long form anymore, because it would just fry my fucking brain. Like, if I had to watch this whole interview, I would just start throwing things. I'd be like on Twitter tomorrow, like panhandling for a couple computer displays and some cameras and shit, because everything would just be destroyed. There would be nothing left in this fucking room. Here's the last clip.
Angering.
Here's the last clip from this one. But don't worry, we have more. There's more Bret, and next is with Heather, and I think he even compares himself to God at one point during this set of clips.
Let us also point out the interesting, possibly just coincidental fact that Mike Benz has just faced a character assassination that has made
just now
a few days before the attack.
And she's like, just now?
Breaking news with Bret just now, character assassination.
Like, is she fucking with him? I think
is she on something? Like, what?
By the
sense
way,
of time is just off.
Character assassination, so much worse than, you know, a real assassination, an actual assassination.
It's possible that is happenstance. Mike has done a great job of revealing the censorship industrial complex, and they would, of course, have an incentive to take him down at any moment. But the coincidence of him being hobbled just before this attack, in which the censorship was going to kick into high gear, is at least worth noticing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
wow, I didn't know that.
Things never happened after other things when I was a kid.
Yeah, no historical context. Only one event happens at once, and nothing else ever happened before or after this one thing that happened recently.
Holy crap.
That's why we can write history books just perfectly linearly.
But that means we have to read, and that's hard.
Oh, that's also why the word while does not exist.
We only have before and after.
Yep.
Christ. Oh no. And okay, so we're gonna go, we're done with whatever that was, but we got more. Here's Bret and Heather in, like, why can't they just have like a normal set? I mean, like, HK's obviously in an office. Marcus is obviously in his bedroom. You need to make your bed. Young man,
I leave it unmade in protest of Jordan Peterson. I will not make my bed. You can't put that as a rule in your book.
And I'm just up against a wall, like with a fucking light behind me, so that you could see the fucking texture of the wall. Like why
I thought you were in a void?
Like this fucking rug that they have behind them. What is this? Anyway,
Wait, Dave, you're actually in a physical space right now?
yes,
The now space.
now space. I'm real. I exist, and I'm the fucking host of this show, sir. Excuse me. Anyway, here's Bret and Heather. So the idea here now is that I guess the incident, the happenings, the goings on in the Middle East are actually designed to drive a wedge between Bret and some of his new anti-vaccine pals.
This turn of events, historical and whatever their nature, let's say that they're perfectly organic, that what took place is exactly what it appears to be, a massive intelligence and military failure. The consequence of it outside of the Middle East is to make conversations that were taking place a week ago very difficult to have, if not impossible now. There's something that I would call the coalition slicer dicer.
I'm Bret Weinstein. I'm bringing you the coalition slap chop. Let's take a look.
That Vince guy, that's an interesting story. He took all that money that he made on that and tried to go after the cult of Scientology and lost all his fucking money.
I mean, kind of base, but also like you could have done better with that money.
Have, if not impossible now. There's something that I would call the coalition slicer dicer working on us. And what it does, let's say that you have a group of people who have found each other and they have come to understand how to interact with each other and they have established bonds of trust.
Those are called friends, Bret. It's odd to me that you're discovering this at this late point in your life, sir.
Let's say that this thing actually existed.
Slicer dicer?
The concept of friends.
Oh. What if Bret and Sam kissed under like a museum piece about the bell curve?
Yeah. What if we held hands while also turning pages of the bell curve? What if we kissed near me and my wife's Aladdin rug on the wall?
Oh my God.
I do love that they bought, like I'm almost sure that this is not a rug from their house. They bought a rug just to nail to the wall.
And then either it's not hanging level, or it is hanging level, and Bret and the camera are both like tilted off to the side.
It could be
Bret didn't evolve the ability to use a level, so he had to tilt the camera to make sure the rug appeared level in the video.
One of the funny story about that. One of the main reasons I got rid of the backdrop behind me is that you could, like, if you were like an astute viewer of the show, you could tell whether or not my camera was perfectly level that day. Using the backdrop, because somebody, what's the word I'm looking for? A man hung the backdrop, and so. Anyway, let's let this keep going.
Can't get my camera unlevel right now.
Their growing sense making surrounding COVID, right? You have the COVID dissidents who are realizing that they're all seeing pieces of the puzzle, and then they pool those pieces and they say, oh my God, here's what the larger puzzle looks like. And they are empowered and they hold meetings and they become an important
potato
force on the landscape, because as the population wakes up to the fact that something was done to it that was unholy, these people...
What was done to us? Like, what the fuck is he talking about? I have been living a relatively normal life for the past, year and a half? Like, since the vaccines came out, we've all been living a relatively normal life. It was fucking weird before that. Does he not remember that it was super weird that, fucking gazelles were running around the streets of San Francisco? Crocodiles were running through the streets of Florida. Oh, that's actually normal.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, that's normal.
But weird. It was fucking weird. Everyone was staying inside. That was weird.
I mean, I think he's referring
that the vaccine is the weird part, right? But no, the vaccine was the normalest part about all of that.
Well, I think it's also a low-key reference to Lab Leak, where he thinks that like it was deliberately engineered and released on people on purpose. So like when he's saying the population has had something done to it, he's basically saying the entire pandemic was a scam.
Right. It was released,
But he's like,
it was released to make Bret a celebrity, though.
Yeah, maybe that means he's in on it. Ooh, he's part of the pharmaceutical industrial complex. He's the Pied Piper here, the COVID dissident Pied Piper.
but like that contradicts the first part. So like, or the second part. So like, let's say you do believe that like whatever lab leak, whatever. Then like the vaccine's a good thing, and you should be like all for the vaccine. Like, yeah, we fixed that problem that they did to us. Like they were trying to attack us, and we fixed that. But
You'd
no,
think
he's
so.
like also vaccine bad.
Yeah, because he it's part of his internet celebrity. Like that's his foot in the door more so than what he's done before. But to keep any degree of logical consistency in his conspiracy theorism, he basically says, "Yeah, your immune system can handle it. Just get sick. It's fine. Natural immunity." So that's how he can justifiably say vaccine bad. In his worldview, is basically saying, "Yeah, well, if you happen to get it, you'll be fine."
So he thinks that China engineered a virus to attack us, and then they released it, and they successfully attacked us, but it was only as bad as like a cold.
Yeah, but also it was only as bad as a cold because China is working with the American pharmaceutical industry so they can sell the vaccines and profit off of the vaccines. And you know, it reminds me of an episode of House MD from like an eternity ago, where they have like a hypothetical conversation with some anti-vax actress, basically being like, "I don't want my baby to get the MMR shot." And House is just like, "All right, well, they'll just make a little coffin for your baby in like Fire Engine Red or like Frog Green, and I'll send you the flyer for it." So it's like, you know, at that point, if you think it's all a giant like scam and collusion and conspiracy to sell vaccines, like just die, or like just get it, go isolate, and leave everybody else alone. So don't spread it to other people. Like if you're in that headspace and you're refusing to get out of it, then just stay in your room with the rug on the wall and leave everybody alone.
Would you guys want to start a company called Anti-Vaxxers Choice Brand Child Coffins?
Ooh, you might have to change the name to sound a little bit more patriotic. But the premise is there. I like the idea.
Put the word freedom in there.
coffins.
Yeah, exactly.
Child freedom coffins.
American Eagle Freedom Coffins. There we go. So that your child flies up on high in style.
All right, let's let him complete whatever word salad he was doing here.
And seen to offer pieces of the truth along the way. That is a very powerful force. That force is fiercely divided over the interpretation of what took place on October 7th in Israel. And this has impacts across the globe. It has impacts on the U.S. presidential election. It has impacts on our understanding of U.S. entanglements abroad generally. And my concern is, you know, divide and conquer is a famously ancient strategy. My guess is we would find the formulation of it in many different traditions. Obviously, Napoleon knew about it. Surely Sun Tzu is going to have things to say about it. But
Sun Tzu dead.
Divide and conquer an information landscape might look very much like an ongoing slicer-dicer operation that simply tears coalitions apart so that they are never capable of making any meaningful change, which is, after all, I think the Goliath's purpose.
just the fucking balls to be like, oh, you know, they did this actually so that people stopped listening to me talk to, I don't know, who the fuck does he talk to now? RFK Jr. or fucking, who else is he been talking to? I've lost track of Del Bigtree or whoever. Or maybe he doesn't like Del Bigtree because Del Bigtree's more popular than him. I don't know.
He was like 1 week away from bringing everyone together, right?
He's even going to bring Marcus on. Yeah.
Oh God!
And then they went and started a war, and now
almost had you convinced, right?
He lost all his traction. Oh. One more
Thank
week,
God.
it would have been all over.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what Bret does on Dark Horse anymore. Like, he's ginning all of this up to basically say that, you know, you're still being scammed by Big Pharma. Please listen to me. But it's like, if you look at Bret's Patreon earnings, it's just a steady line down. Like, he's falling off and he can't handle it.
Yeah, that's what I was that's like was my prediction. Well, you I think you and I together, our predictions like match up, right? You said that as you know, COVID's not going away. I think we can all kind of agree that it's going to be it's endemic, that we're going to have to learn to live with it like we've learned to live with influenza. But
To some extent, that's a separate conversation, but ish.
close enough. Close enough. Listen, man. I'm not the expert you are. You feel free to correct me. But that's
I mean, it's not going away. Like, we have to do something about it because it's not going away. Like, we do things for flu, and that's not going away. So we should also do things for COVID too.
But as it leaves the hearts and minds of people as their number one issue, Bret's 15 minutes is up whether he likes it or not. There is nowhere for him to go. He's going to try. You're right. He's going to try to maybe be more extreme or comment on more things. But he's so fucking boring that unless he's like putting academic window dressing on the anti-vax stuff, people are just going to jump ship on him because he's fucking boring and his wife is hell of annoying. And And I think that's why he's maybe losing like Patreon people. People might still be watching his content, but we could even check Social Blade maybe during the post game to see if his viewers are going down as well. But it's hard to tell because now he's on like the Odyssey website and he's doing the members only thing on locals, and like we can't get data from locals, so we don't know if those Patreon people, if some of them jumped ship and went over to the Dave Rubin platform. But I do think that his 15 minutes are about up, that he's going to end up right back where he was before, like as far as popularity goes, like almost an also ran with Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson.
I think maybe he might be able to turn it around if he nails up a couple more wall rugs.
If he puts a couple more, maybe if he changes his studio again.
Yeah.
Yeah, fresh.
Bring back the sword and the sink.
Yeah, go back to the fucking wood
The
room,
humidor.
man. Yeah, go back to the fucking humidor. My God. Everybody loved that. In fact, we had one of our viewers take the time to use Photoshop to create an empty Galaxy Brain humidor.
Bret's falling off because this is of his poor mise en scène. So maybe if he starts looking at some more film and movie studies, he could get some inspiration to get those numbers back up.
So this next one's crazy. I'm not even gonna like say what it's about. This next one's fucking crazy though. Here it goes.
Just let it rip.
Has something gotten into the Israeli system that is ready to sacrifice civilians for some other purpose that has not been named and we do not know? Now that's an incredible thought. It's a terrible thought. On the other hand, if you look at what Israel did during COVID, the entire population was betrayed. Israel had amongst the highest vaccination rates of any country on earth. That was the result of whatever it is that controls the Israeli system of government, inflicting unnecessary harm on the population of Israel. I don't know what to make of it, but the fact that you have two historical events that appear to have nothing to do with each other, that share the characteristic of looking like something that must go beyond the level of organic failure, both of which involve something in control that has asymmetrical access to information, putting the population of citizens in jeopardy of terrible things, and then not telling the truth about it.
So they got vaccinated, which is almost like, first of all, whose civilians are they willing to like have die or whatever? But like, also like what the fuck is he talking about? I mean, I know what he said, but that doesn't, and I get the point he was trying to make, but I still have to ask what the fuck he's talking about.
I'm not sure
How
we'll
was
ever
their
figure it out.
mortality rate?
Oh, they did. They were one of the, better than America, but that's not,
So
It's a pretty low bar.
Bret just doesn't care about that?
He probably
Doubtful.
thinks
That they had a higher vaccine rate and a lower mortality rate?
I think he probably thinks that's a lie. He probably thinks that there are more injuries or more deaths than people are letting on. He thinks that there are probably deaths that were attributed to like old age that were COVID, or like car accidents that were, or not that were COVID, that were the vaccine, right? Oh my God.
Does the vaccine cause car accidents?
I mean, I felt pretty bad after one of the vaccines. I probably shouldn't have been driving a car, but that would have been my own like decisions that would have caused the car accident. Plus, I don't drive. But
Bret should start attributing all car accidents to the vaccine.
remember when they
I
were
mean, you joke, but that's what they do. Like the vaccine is now suddenly responsible for like my wife divorced me. It's responsible for like my pee feels weird in the middle of the night. What's going on? Like if you there at some point, what I'll do is I'll link you guys the VAERS clearinghouse. It's a compilation
actually,
of
if you hit !VAERS in the chat, you get a link to that.
Oh, well, I mean, there you go. You already have it queued up. All you have to do is browse the VAERS clearinghouse. Because, I mean, most of the time, like recent Abe in chat said, it's, 7 billion dead myocarditis, no iPhone, Venezuela. Like that's basically the set of things that they say all the time, that, the vaccine gave everybody in the planet myocarditis and everyone's dead now. So it's like they have no new talking points, and it's just the same trite stuff repeatedly. So Bret does, I think, operate from a position of there's way more vaccine injuries via heart grenade than anything else.
So the first entry on that thing is category alcohol, adverse reaction, drunk and dizzy. Isn't that the point of the alcohol?
Yo, so what happened with VAERS was, okay, so the first thing that happened was the anti-vaxxers started posting fake things on there. And then, honestly, the skeptic kind of troll community made it worse. By posting like it let me walk through walls. I could walk on my hands now. It gave me the gay. We made it work. Like we contributed, and I will account myself. I didn't do it personally, but I'll take responsibility for being part of a group of snarky skeptic people who were like, well, I mean, if you're gonna lie about it, we should make up the most outlandish fucking lie we can and put it on there. And that was bad, I guess. Not as bad as the anti-vaxxers trying to game it at first, but it was still bad. And now it's like full of garbage. It's just absolutely full of garbage. It's not even useful to spot trends like it was supposed to be,
It was always full of garbage, though. Before COVID, it was full of garbage.
Well, the thing I was talking about was before COVID. The anti-vaxxers were already trying to game it long before COVID.
Okay.
They were already trying to game it. So we got some clips straight from the Dark Horse Podcast's Twitter feed, which... it's a huge oversight that they have not yet blocked me, but that's because I have not yet antagonized them. By next Wednesday, by next Intellectual Dollar Tree recording, I expect to be blocked by the Dark Horse Podcast on Twitter. Anyway, here's him asking why the Israeli border was undefended.
Why was arguably the most defended border on Earth undefended on the anniversary of a historical attack on Israel, the Yom Kippur War, to the extent that Hamas was able to breach that border in many places simultaneously and bring a large force into the country that operated nearly unopposed for many, many hours? That is a question that a rational person would have to ask. And maybe it has a perfectly mundane explanation. But the problem is, if you search for that mundane explanation, it does not suggest itself. This
Complacency?
A failure that one has to bend over backwards to rescue the idea that it was organic. So I don't know what that means. There are lots of ways it could be inorganic, but the lack of interest apparently in figuring out which of those actually explains it is troubling in and of itself.
I got an explanation. Sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, not everything's about you, Brett.
Like, if you feel like you have the most secure borders, then you're probably not going to spend a whole lot of your effort making sure that they're the most secure borders, because you already have the most secure borders. So, you get complacent.
Either that, or just something else was going on, or it wasn't undefended, or I don't know. These are things that won't be known right away, because these stuff like this, it's going to take a while for the powers that be to try to explain themselves.
Yeah, well, there were at least like other things that were being cast into the ether from like other countries in the region. Like, I know the Egyptian intelligence services had things to say about that specifically, but like that notwithstanding, it's one of those things where it's like you just wait for information to come out and let the cards fall where they fall. Like, you need to have all this sorted before you really make incredibly concrete comments about like, yep, this and that for sure happened. But Bret literally just has to say, well, this can't have happened in a way that makes sense, or that like is reflective of people just doing things because they want to do them. No, it has to be for a greater purpose, like preventing me from talking about vaccines on Twitter,
preventing me and my friends from getting along.
Yeah, we can't have our kumbayas when everybody's talking about Gaza. Please stop, so we can have our COVID pox parties and spit in each other's mouth.
It occurs to me that things like this, where there isn't an immediate answer, are really good for people like Bret, and really bad for everyone else because of people like Bret. Like, because the hot take is fun. I engage in the spicy, warm, and sometimes hot take. But like with this, like I don't have any hot takes. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I have my biases and my, like, as they would say, my priors, because of my feelings about the power imbalance in that part of the world. But other than that, I don't know shit. So I've been like largely keeping my fucking mouth shut and like just like trying to find like reputable news sources, both mostly outside of the United States, to try to figure out what's going on. And I don't know, but like I guess like if your a brand is that the powers that be are lying to you, and the powers that be aren't really giving you a concrete answer at this time because they are copying to not knowing. Or they're like, hey, we're not going to release all this information yet because we would like to keep this secret for a little while. Then I guess it has to be about Bret, because there's no other way for him to go on this. There's no like clear way for a conspiracist to go anymore on this. You could go, there's no, like, if you wanted to make this a two sides thing, the conspiracists are probably they fucking hate Islam. And they're not big fans of Jewish people, but a lot of them probably like Benjamin Netanyahu because of his sort of ethno-nationalist leanings. But then maybe a lot of them like Hamas because the Hamas wants to fucking subjugate women or whatever. So like, this is really hard actually for Bret. So I feel a little sorry for him.
Wait, both of these people who are just as bad as I am with respect to their worldviews, I can't pick which awful human or group of people do I support. I'm torn. Like,
and his brand can't be, hey, everybody, we're just going to have to wait and see, because that's like so contrary to everything else he's ever done.
Yeah, he's a reactionary. They need him to react immediately. They need him to just assert some sort of clarity over the situation, because that's his trade. That's what he does. But he decided to take the weirdo's way out and say it's actually neither of those two. It's all actually a subterfuge. It's a plot to distract you from my podcast.
And it's so crazy that a conspiracy theorist is positing I'm going to try to be a little careful how I say this, positing a shadowy group of people above the shadowy group of Jewish people that other conspiracy theorists usually say is behind everything. That's the crazy part.
It's wild. He's superseding anti-Semitic conspiracy theories with something that's anti-Semitic for both Semitic peoples involved in this conflict in the first place.
Yeah, and who the fuck who the fuck are the Rothschilds answering to in this fucking conspiracy world he's creating? Oh, it's the
What if it's Heather? Heather hasn't said a word in these clips. Maybe Heather's pulling the strings.
maybe Heather's not even. Maybe Heather is her software has crashed.
Oh yeah, Heather's stuck updating. Heather got struck by Windows updates, so she's just rebooting right now.
All right, so we got a longer one here. This one's about 6 minutes, and it's from their own Twitter because they paid apartheid Clyde for a check mark, which is super sad, but not unsurprising. My favorite thing, though, and we'll get onto this clip in a second, is Bret trying so hard to get Elon to notice him, and even Elon is like, "I don't like this dork."
Yeah, I think didn't Elon at some point say like you're being weird, stop? Or no, Elon blocked him. Elon actually blocked Bret. That's right. I remember this now.
Bret kept adding him. Imagine being such a dork that Elon Musk blocks you.
And not because you're disagreeing with Elon either.
I'm kind of surprised they don't have like the gold check mark that costs like $2,000 a month or something.
Well, even if they did, Elon can just take that away too, because he did it to the New York Times, I think.
Well, like they would be one of the few people that would actually pay for that.
Oh, for sure. But if their Patreon dollars are going down, maybe they're tightening their grifter belts and they can't afford Elon's fancy P check mark.
All right, here's the next clip.
We are being asked to accept that the Israeli military and intelligence complex erred so massively as to allow this incredible breach of this border that apparently, according to a captured Hamas operative, shocked even them. They did not expect to be able to do this. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. It could be propaganda. Who knows? But we are being asked to accept that there's
very good, Bret. So far, so good. Yes, I'm not sure if that's true. Maybe this person who is a bit of an operator was lying.
Uncertainty in the face of geopolitics. Bret, this isn't like you. Are you okay, honey?
Can you name like a system or like a country that hasn't had any single breach that's been around for like decades?
I'm just proud of him.
Everyone eventually has a breach.
Like I said,
everyone and everything.
I am just very proud of Bret for understanding that an operator might be lying. That's very, very, very good. Very good. Yes, the operator from Hamas might be lying. They're a spy.
Progress? Question mark.
Explanation, and that we are furiously trying to figure out what it might be when that extends well beyond any plausible failure. And I will defend that in a second if I need to. But
from who?
Superficially, just say, if that failure is beyond what an organic failure could produce plausibly, then the question is, has something gotten into the Israeli system that is ready to sacrifice civilians for some other purpose that has not been named and we do not know? Now, that's an incredible thought. It's a terrible thought. On the other hand, if you look at what Israel did during COVID,
this is with bad stats.
The entire population was betrayed.
But it's only like
Israel had amongst the highest vaccination rates of any country on earth. That was the result of whatever it is that controls the Israeli system of government.
The chat has a theory. It's that the high vaccine rate made the IDF dumb. They should put that on VAERS. We got the vaccine.
VAERS report submitted by Bibi Netanyahu. Symptom: army no function.
We all took the vaccine, and then there was a terrorist attack on a rave. The most likely place to find the unvaccinated, actually, when you think about it.
Probably
on the population of Israel. I don't know what to make of it, but the fact that you have two historical events that appear to have nothing to do with each other, that share the characteristic of looking like something that must go beyond the level of organic failure, both of which involve something in control that has asymmetrical access to information, putting the population of citizens in jeopardy of terrible things, and then not telling the truth about it.
Right. And again, I think, massive unprecedented error. I would say that error there is doing this.
Unprecedented? Have they heard of 9/11?
No.
Extremely precedented.
Wait, let's not tell them about 9/11.
He said that, like, if something can't be plausibly explained by, like, the failure of the system, like, what does he mean? Like, what can't be plausibly explained by the failure of the system? The failure of the system can result in, like, literally anything.
Right.
Like, that's why trains derail. That's why, like, planes crash. That's why, like, countries fall apart. Like, if the system fails, like, anything could happen.
That's why self-driving cars will kill your children.
Like, nothing has to be, like, nefariously plotted. Like, no one plotted for, like, the Challenger space shuttle to explode. It was, like, the failure of the system that caused that.
No, that was actually Big Rocket masquerading as a systemic failure. Big Rocket didn't want you to know that they exploded the Challenger to commission more rocket construction.
They did it to take out that teacher.
I was
actually.
unfamiliar with that.
That teacher knew too much. They did it to take out that teacher.
Yeah, otherwise she'd teach other people about what she learned.
Yeah, oops. Because if she came back down as a teacher, she would have to explain to everybody that space is actually fake.
Exactly. She saw the Hollywood movie set. She saw too much. She had to be dealt with.
That's fucking dark. Let's let this clip keep going. That's fucking horrible.
As broken in what I was talking about. That error and broken can mean two totally different things. Perhaps everyone involved is actually overwhelmed with grief and a desire that this never, ever, ever happen again, because the system is what it appears to be, and it is the thing that it came to be under normal circumstances. Or perhaps there are those who have helped to make things happen who are benefiting.
Right. And if this were a simple organic failure, then across the board, we would be expecting to see people trying to figure out what it was, because the chances, did Hamas get into the military?
Aren't we?
And intelligence? Did it compromise Israeli military intent?
Wait, does this guy think that they're not trying to send spies into the IDF? Yes. Yes, they are.
Bret just learned about espionage.
He's saying that Israel, like, he's implying at least that Israel is doing absolutely nothing to counteract, like, the next time this will happen. They don't care at all how it happened. Like, that's what he's implying. No, I assure you, Israel is trying to figure out what went wrong and prevent it.
But those pesky spies, which it's a word I just made up, actually. I'm coined a term called spies. It's when you infiltrate another country's intelligence apparatus. They had a show about it, actually, but nobody paid attention to it because the show really sucked. It was called Burn Notice. And but it told you all about this. If you would have only watched that show, you would understand. If only the IDF had watched Burn Notice.
Yeah, if you were far enough advanced. Go ahead.
Someone should make a movie about spies.
With maybe like a three letter moniker for the spy, or 3-number moniker. Better 3 numbers.
And intelligence and cause this breach, that would certainly be a question you would want. I'm not saying it happened. I don't think it did, but you would want to rule it out, because something beyond normal has to explain this. And let me just, again,
No, something normal can absolutely explain it. Fuck you, Bret.
like
Nothing
oopsie.
happens legitimately.
Oopsie is actually normal.
about conspiracy.
He's just fucking saying that. No evidence at all.
Mm-hmm. That's what he does.
This is wild.
If you really believe that the idea that a hypothesis alleges a possible conspiracy is invalidating on its face, then you're not paying attention.
But nobody says that you hypothesizing about a conspiracy invalidates your hypothesis, which is a crazy and like overly overly self-congratulatory way to talk about this guy's fucking like navel gazing and fucking word salading. Like, you are not positing a hypothesis. You are on a talk show, probably in real time, generating a conspiracy theory. This is the opposite of a hypothesis.
Yeah, this is the academic window dressing again. He just has to use science words, and now suddenly it becomes legitimate thinking instead of IDW sense making.
Like the first step to the scientific method is not hypothesizing. The first step to the scientific method is research. You figure out like what is a reasonable hypothesis. Is this
you have to have an
hypothesis
idea
that's going on in my brain completely unreasonable and absolutely fucking deranged? Yes? Okay, maybe I shouldn't spew it out into the world.
Right? Maybe more research is needed before I hypothesize.
Yep.
Yeah, but that requires like restraint and self-control, something that Bret has never demonstrated himself capable of having.
But
He's
like
a little
you would
better at
think
it than
someone who fancies himself a scientist would understand that.
I mean, it did take him 9 years to get his PhD. I think he might have missed a couple of classes.
That's neither here nor there.
Kinds of collusion taking place, and the harm to the public. If you didn't notice it over COVID, then you really got to go back and review what happened. There was an awful lot of collusion to keep us in the dark, to cause us to do things that were actually not in our interest, to fail to register opportunities to protect certain populations like young people from dangerous things like so-called vaccines from which they get no benefit.
And the attempt to memory hole all of that by the same players who who effectively demonized those of us who were resistant in the first place.
Anybody who's paying attention can see it. And so the point is really not, are you a conspiracy theorist or not? The question is, are you any good at it? Right? Are you good at being rigorous?
And that's played out by how many patrons you have.
In the confusing landscape where collusion may be taking place. Can you avoid seeing ghosts where they're not? And it's not easy because, frankly, the nature of conspiracy is to create a phony story.
It's not easy. I see ghosts everywhere. I see dead people. It's Halloween. Somebody help me.
Oh man, Bret should have been like the fifth Ghostbuster or whatever. Wait, were there 4 Ghostbusters?
Yeah, I think there were 4.
Trigger artificially. Right? So how do you tell the difference between an organically simple explanation for something and a phony baloney simple explanation that effectively obscures the truth? That's the difficulty philosophically.
And how do you do it when all of the emotional triggers are on high? It's even more difficult.
Right. It's that if we can get you...
You're scared for your life. Maybe because it's a virus, maybe because it's barbaric terrorists. But either way, you're scared for your life, and fear is running your decision-making apparatus, and it is affecting your ability to see what might be true.
Right. It is.
Is it unreasonable to be afraid of like things that are killing other people?
If Bret and Heather say not to be afraid of them, then yes, obviously.
I mean, like, I would say, like, sure, it's unreasonable to be afraid of, like, I don't know, getting killed by a pencil. Because, like, maybe a couple people in the world die by getting killed by a pencil every year. But, like, you're probably not going to be one of them. So there's no reason to fear that.
Bret doesn't like pencils anyway. They have erasers.
But, like, if you're afraid of, like, a virus that has killed literally millions of people in your own country, isn't that a reasonable fear?
Or like maybe,
and like be afraid enough that like you wear a mask out in public. Like I feel like that's a perfectly reasonable level of fear too. Like you're not so afraid that you're like locking yourself in your bathroom, but like you're afraid enough that you're like, maybe I don't want to like, get other people's sneezes up my nose.
Right. Or
I mean, I don't even call that fear. That's just like not wanting other people to be gross. Like, do you have a thing that works, so you do it?
Well, we have this term. It's called like having a healthy fear of something, right? Like having a healthy fear of heights is good, right? It's
I
not
have
that
an
you're-
unhealthy fear of heights, so yeah.
But
I
no,
wish
what
I
I'm-
only had a healthy fear of heights.
It's not that the fear is good. It's that the fear is because you know what the outcome might be. That the fear in and of itself isn't necessarily good. The fear is knowing that the outcome is bad if you fall, say, from something
Yeah,
high.
you're respecting the threat that something poses.
Right. That's
Yeah.
so, and that's not
Which
necessarily
is perfectly reasonable.
well, and that's not necessarily what we think of as fear. But I mean, that's just where the term "healthy fear" comes from. It's like,
Right.
So, like, it could be that people are just afraid of a thing, and it's not because the government is trying to control everyone.
right.
But
Nobody's allowed to have their own.
Apparently, that is way too much to believe for Bret and Heather.
Yeah, nobody has agency or autonomy, and the government's manipulating every single one of them into thinking that.
But also for $10 a month on Patreon, you too can have autonomy.
That's how you break free of the mind control. You give Bret Weinstein $10.
So we got another clip. This is the good one. I mean, this has all been pretty good. I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to fill an hour with this Bret stuff, but we are actually going to be able to fill an hour with this Bret stuff.
This is the money shot right here.
Oh,
Literally.
oh, this is, listen, this is about 2 minutes. We're just all going to shut the fuck up and let him say this whole 2-minute thing. I can't stop you from laughing, but I will tell you to shut the fuck up if you try to talk during this.
Okay.
I've never told HK to shut the fuck up on the stream ever.
But there's a piece of the story that haunts me. And it will probably sound arrogant for me to describe it, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's later than we think. You'll remember that in The Hitchhiker's Guide, the Earth is actually a sophisticated computer designed to discover the meaning of life, the universe, and everything after the initial computer that was designed to do this after, I think, thousands of years, spit out an insane answer, which was 42, which didn't mean anything. And then when asked to explain it, it said, well, what was the question? So the Earth was the 2.0 version of the investigator for what is the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And as you will recall, the computer actually produced its result. The Earth did figure out what the meaning of life, the universe, and everything was in the form of a young woman on whom it dawned. And she picked up the phone to convey the answer at the exact moment that the Vogons destroyed the place. So anyway, the point is the Earth spits out the answer, but we still don't know what it is because lo and behold, it was destroyed at exactly the moment that the answer was ready to be delivered. I feel a little bit like I might be the young woman in that story because I believe that actually generally I do know what the next thing is supposed to be, and it isn't that complex, and it's we describe it, Heather and I, in our book, in the last chapter. It's called The Fourth Frontier.
So everybody, Bret's a god, essentially.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because of evolution, I can see the future, and so can you if you buy my book.
Like, that is the closest I've ever heard anyone come to saying, I'm the most important person in the world.
And that's just and Bret probably said something else that was the second closest, or his brother said it. Yeah. More on his brother during Red Light, by the way, everybody. Yeah, no, somebody called it main character syndrome. We've in the chat actually described it as only character syndrome. It's where you're the only one that matters, not just because we're all the main character in our own story. You have to believe that in some way. Otherwise, you don't operate in your own self-interest. That's fine. But this is only character syndrome, where it's like only him, maybe in a few select people who he decided matters. Now, his guest is like, here, hold my interdimensional space computer.
Information is the new power. It's the new battlefield. You and I fight this all the time. I'm just every day now, I'm like, how many of these things on Twitter are just bots? How many of them are government bots? How many of them are public-private NGO partnership bots. I don't know, right? But
this is the Madison Star Moon argument where everybody that doesn't agree with me is a paid fucking government puppet, which are
that's an Elon argument too.
Yeah, they're all bots and shills. If they're real, they're paid to do it. This is like when you've just lost your fucking mind, you end up you're a paid fucking provocateur. I've had people, like, I use my government name on Facebook, and you could, like, look me up. I'm a real person, and so people don't accuse me of being fake. I'm always accused of being a government paid shill for any number of things, and it's, like, the craziest fucking thing. And this guy's doing it right now. He's like, well, I don't know. People are talking shit to me on Twitter. They must be bots or paid government puppets, and it's like, or people are talking shit to you because they think that they should talk shit to you because they think that you can go fuck yourself, which actually requires the fewest assumptions of any. It requires way more assumptions to think that it's a computer program or that somebody's being paid to tell you to go fuck yourself. The most logical thing is just that this person actually just believes that you can go fuck yourself, actually, and that's fine. Like, there's people who think I can go fuck myself too. I just think they're wrong.
But it's a lot of
Many
bots.
of them I just want to put on the radar of people because I think it's looming very, very large. Many of them are organized armies of paid trolls.
There you go. Bret just bought into that argument too.
Organized armies of paid trolls.
Like, HK, seriously, that is not anything different than something fucking Madison Star Moon would say.
Yeah, that is like, no one can disagree with me unless they're paid to disagree with me. That's like, I think that is the second closest thing to I'm the most important person on earth.
It calls up the wrong thing because a bot is inherently stupid. A person who is paid to create a particular impression, especially if they are doing so in conjunction with 20 other people who've been assigned a task, is a very powerful thing because what it does is it uses the human API expertly. That is to say, we all have a sense of what it means.
The human API is pay
can you
someone.
Rewind that?
What?
Can you rewind that? The human API what?
Here you go.
Very powerful thing because what it does is it uses the human API expertly.
Yeah, the idea that if you pay people to do something, they'll do it is using the human API expertly. It's just that I don't think this is really happening.
It uses the human API expertly.
Don't dig too much into
what
it.
A weird way to say it works.
He has no idea what an API is, so just don't dig too deeply into that, please.
He does not. So, like, humans will do things if you pay them to do them. Oftentimes, not anything. I'm sure there's someone that would do anything, but yeah, does he not know that?
It's called employment.
Yeah, like that's there's no human API. Like, even in his own conspiracy, he's the crazy one.
Yeah, he's out here, Pepe Sylvia posting with all the red yarn, the newspaper clippings in his own headspace and his own headcanon.
That is to say, we all have a sense of what it means when a person says something hostile or challenging to us. We react like human beings do. And when the thing that you're interacting with is one of 20 representatives of an organization whose name you do not know that has identified your account and says it is time to create the following impression around Chris Martinson.
If this guy would just go on Twitch, he could find the key players in this organization. They've some of us have Twitch channels, and many of those other key players in this have appeared on people's Twitch channels. Like,
he is literally like 2 steps away from putting on an actual tinfoil hat.
He's describing a thing that it still exists on the internet, but a lot of the social media sites have cracked down on it. It's this idea of gang stalking. This gang stalkers targeted individuals. It's actually terrifying. He is not all the way down that rabbit hole, but he's getting kind of close there because he he thinks like some shadowy organization is on the internet making fun of him, except that like most of the people that are making fun of him like are like known entities. Anybody who's getting any traction making fun of him is like us, we're kind of known, but like Sam Cedar likes to make fun of him, and it's pretty easy to figure out the fucking who that is. That's the Majority Report crew. They're fairly popular, and you know all their names actually. they all do this under their government name. There's no conspiracy here, Brett. It's just that a lot of people think that you're one, full of shit, and two, kind of funny. So you make
and
good
it's because
fodder.
he is both full of shit and kind of funny.
Yeah, he's similar to like the chemtrail people that we've been making fun of in the way that they're really just great fodder.
Yep, and he doesn't realize it, and I think that's why he's assuming that like, you know, everyone is after him and everyone's working for some big shadow organization.
And I mean, not for nothing, I technically am being paid right now to make fun of him. So we
are the robots. Are we even human? We're Echoplex
right,
bots.
that's
you know what? I guess he's right.
Yeah, like the chemtrail
I
people.
stand corrected.
They like a chemtrails group on Facebook got stolen, goated recently, and they're like, "Oh, you know, you're paid shills," and I'm like, "Excuse me, yes, I am actually. I pay my bills making fun of conspiracy theorists. Now you got me. Here's the link to my show. Come hang out."
Yeah, you guys theorizing is what's getting me paid. You are paying me the shill. Thank you for your patronage.
Right? That is a very powerful force. It is a force capable of
Who is that guy?
preventing an awareness that would otherwise dawn from occurring. There is a project with your name on it, and the status of that project and the institutional knowledge of that project. What are your blind spots? What are your sensitivities? What are the impressions that can be created around your feed that will cause people who might otherwise listen to you to turn away and walk the other direction? These things are somehow being wielded in a sophisticated way.
Okay, so the guy they're cutting to HK is the bad stats. He's the guy who pulled almost all of the clips actually.
Oh, okay,
that we
there
watched,
we go.
That we watched today.
I just didn't realize that's what he looked like.
Yeah. He's not pseudonymous or anything. He's like he just has the name the bad stats on there, but you know, he's not anonymous. He'll tell you who he is. And like I'm telling you, us, the bad stats, Ina, Nice Mangoes, the guys at Guru's Pod, the conspirituality guys, we all kind of know each other, but we're not organized. We are all doing our own thing, and we all just sort of ended up in the same place with like slightly different tones, ranging from me to the conspirituality guys who were like really nice.
You know what the irony in that is, Dave? If Bret understood that, there's actually an evolutionary term for that. It's called convergent evolution, where multiple organisms arrived at the same evolutionary point, taking different paths to get there. So if Bret was half the scientist he claimed to be, he could actually figure out what you just said.
And I mean, in some ways we are organized because we might every once in a while retweet each other, or I've gone ahead and read the conspirituality guy's book because I thought it might be interesting. But this idea that there's like some fucking shadowy cabal, those of people who he doesn't know who they are. Bret, just go check your block list. You can find out who these people are. You know who they all are.
He thinks it's some shadowy organization, but really it's just like a few normal people making fun of him on stream.
And it's because maybe he thinks they're shadowy because he blocked them all and forgot who they all are. You think he name searches himself on a fake account?
Oh,
Probably not. I don't know.
He's probably not pinker pilled enough to do that. I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Bret at this point, just like he's just going outside to like buy his groceries, and he looks at like the shrubbery next to the entrance, and he like hallucinates an Echoplex Media logo just coming out of the bushes. Like, oh God, the bots, they're here. The shills, they won't leave me alone.
That was the funniest thing that ever happened was when he quote tweeted me that one time, right? When there was the baby head exploding thing. And we had taken the night off, I think, of Intellectual Dollar Tree that night. And I was like, well, I'm going to do some IDT work. And I clipped a bunch of that stuff out. And then he quote tweeted me to send his followers after me. And like somebody, I forget, I think it might've been Chris Kavanaugh who hit me up. Like I woke up like, at noon, like as you do. And I checked my phone and I had like some DMs and he's like, hey man, you doing all right? I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the best thing that ever happened.
I made it. What do you mean I'm not okay? This fucking rocks.
Right, because all these dorks kept coming at me going, are you a biologist? I'm like, no, I'm a talk show host like Bret. And then they'd get hella mad. And then like an insignificant portion of them fucking ended up blocking me after they tried to like harass me because they
can't handle it.
Like the people who all the fucking very angry middle-aged women who hang out like and watch my stream were like, hey, go fuck yourself, nerd. And they were like just not ready for that. They go to the profile, it's like 47 loves to knit, and then they absolutely just dunk on you. It's like middle-aged women who like paint, who do watercolor or paint little miniatures or whatever. We're just absolutely slaying these dorks. It's just like the lack of self-awareness. Like he doesn't understand the nature of the people who make fun of him. Like it's like the time that he tried to get the producer of the Majority Report fired for making fun of him. And then Sam was like, I am not firing my producer for making fun of you. That's his job, actually, is to make fun of you.
I don't think he understands the nature of the people who follow him.
They're dorks.
The people who follow him are fucking morons. So like he doesn't realize that he's preaching to a bunch of fucking morons.
I think
he does, and that's even worse.
I think this is one of the things that he actually is aware of. I think because of the kind of content he does, they dress it up like it's for a scientifically literate audience and like they're doing science communication. But I think they're all very much aware that their audience is lay people. And I think
I don't mean lay people. I mean morons.
No, but I mean, well, potato, I suppose. I'm a moron about all kinds of things. Or you could just call me a layperson about things I don't understand. It just depends on how mean you want to be. But I think they have to understand.
Yeah, but are you going to believe? Like, are you going to believe that you know all about those things because you listen to it on a podcast?
No. Okay, you're right. They're fucking morons. Never mind. I stand corrected.
There's a difference between just like not necessarily knowing niche things and like Dunning-Kruger,
or just being incredibly credulous because someone is charismatic as Bret or Heather is telling you some shit.
Oh, dude, you just gave me acid reflux by including charismatic and Bret and Heather in the same sentence.
Is it like red wine acid reflux or chili dog acid reflux or chili dog chased with red wine?
It's like a chili dog chased with red wine with a side of ibuprofen.
You guys are making me hungry
for a chili dog and red wine.
Yeah, don't forget the Advil dust sprinkled on the chili dog.
So, what do you guys? If you had to predict 6 months from now, what are they? Maybe not necessarily what are they going to be talking about, but let's say they're about a 7.5 on the potato meter right now. Are they going to go back down to like 4 or 5 in 6 months in hope of regaining some sort of close to mainstream credibility? Or are they going to like crank that shit up to 11 on the potato meter and be talking about the shape of the earth and shit?
I don't think they'll be fully at 11, but they'll be moving towards 11. I mean, this trajectory doesn't really seem to have any signs of stopping or slowing down. So they're just going to keep doubling and tripling down because that's what got them their success initially. They're not going, because like once you've gone this far, you can't really like do an about, heal, and recapture some of the people who, you know, Sam Harris and company are being like, yeah, Bret's a little weird and saying some pretty extreme stuff. Like the vaccines were fine. You know, you're not getting those people back. Like once you go down that rabbit hole, you don't get the quote unquote normies back.
HK.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think they're going to be at the level of like Madison Star Moon.
But that's mostly the kind of performance that's being put on, not necessarily. Okay, yeah. They're not going to be screaming from their car.
But they're going to be like, They're going to be pretty close. So yeah, I think they're going to take kind of like a much less lucrative Alex Jones trajectory.
To be fair, Alex Jones is worth negative almost $1 billion right now.
It's quite the trajectory, just the wrong direction.
So
fair enough.
My guess is I actually think that they're going to try to tone it down because they're going to like sort of see the writing on the wall that their 15 minutes of fame is up. But the thing that's going to be missing is the mea culpa that would allow them any sort of redemption. They might say, oh, we got out a little like ahead of our skis or whatever on certain things, but they're not going to be like, yeah, this was fucked up and I can't believe I participated in this, because they don't understand that people, especially Americans, we love a good fucking redemption story. And they are like the right kind of people for it, because they're like upper middle class white people who talk really calmly like they're on NPR, and they could actually pull it off. But I don't know about Heather, but Bret's ego would just never let him say, I was gonna die now.
Yeah, he would explode before admitting fault in any way.
Yep.
Now, if they wanted to continue their grift, they could go mea culpa, and they could make a ton of money. Sam Harris would take them back. Jordan Peterson would start talking shit about them. They could go full like we got hoodwinked by a bunch of grifters. But the problem is they were the ones making up the bullshit, so they run into a bit of a problem there too.
They were very
the authority.
easily fact checked.
Like Bret drew a graph.
He did, and it
made no sense.
That was the one. Yeah, Marcus showed us too. We hadn't seen that one yet. The first time you came on, he drew a graph that just said that the chance of him being wrong was like 1% or 5% or something.
Yeah, he was trying to do evolution numbers on how right he was or something. It was just like, dude, come on. You can't turn everything into like some sort of science figure just to prove that you're different from the other grifters. That's not sustainable, man.
All right. Well, it's been almost an hour and a half. I was like in Discord, I'm like, Marcus, I don't know if these few clips are going to fill up an hour or a little bit more. We're going to have to find something else. I was absolutely incorrect.
Never doubt Bret's ability to just be so unhinged that you have to just dig into it for a bit to be like, why is he doing this? Why are you like this, Bret?
You know what I didn't do at the beginning of the show that I should have probably done? Marcus, who are you, and why are you, what the fuck are you doing here, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I think most of your audience knows me already, so I think it was a pretty natural transition to hop into the show.
We have a pretty large like Spotify podcast audience who may not know you. So before we get out of here, you want to tell people where to find you?
Yeah, good call. Hello, Spotify listeners, if you don't know me. My name is Homozygoat. That's my internet name. My government name is Marcus, so you can use whichever one makes you happy. I'm a fifth-year PhD candidate at the University of Vermont. I spend my time on the internet looking at conspiracy theory brainworms, much like Dave and HK here from Echoplex, but I do it more in a science communication way, parentheses, not like Bret. You know, I'm very much in favor of vaccines and masks and things like that. So I do science communication and talk about science and politics on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/homozygoat, spelled like the animal, the goat. So HOMOZYGOAT. That's where you can find me. I'm usually live Tuesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a pleasure to be here with both of you. It's been too long since I've come back to the IDT for making fun of goobers like Bret.
Well, we have another goober that we're going to make fun of in the post game. There's Sam Harris and Eric Weinstein went on the Trigonometry podcast. So we're going to be letting you go, podcast listeners. You go to patreon.com/echoplex or eplex.store. Sign up for a membership. You can get the entire show. Or you can just fucking email me at echo@echoplexmedia.com, because like, what kind of monster would paywall an MP4 over $5 a month? So, but if you want to support this project, my preference is via Fourth Wall at eplex.store. The split there is better. Plus, there's all kinds of great merch there, including Toast Cat, which maybe we'll... We talked a little bit about Toast Cat at the beginning of the stream. But there's also funny stuff about Sam and there's no Eric Weinstein shirt on there. We got to get on that. Anyway, I'm thinking aloud. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm going to change the contents of my beverage, change the color of the lighting in here, and I'll get up, maybe go to the bathroom and take a break. We'll be back with the post game. This is Boomers by Periscope.
Sunday, right here on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. It's the Plex. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific and on into red light. We have the worst news in the week that no one else will cover. The Plex has it all. Conspiracy, right-wing nut jobs, Christian extremism, and Madison Star Moon. Tune in every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/Echoplex Media and find our full schedule at echoplexmedia.com.